You're listening to Awards Magnet, a Gold Derby podcast hosted by Joyce and Christopher Rosen. Welcome back to Awards Magnet. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, it's time for another mailbag episode. Are you excited?
I'm more excited that you have a background, and I'm sure our listeners will be even more thrilled that you have a background.
If you love watching the show on YouTube, you can check it out now. I have a background because I'm in a different location, Joyce. I'm in an undisclosed location.
We should not reveal the location.
No. It has nothing to do with the show either. If people are going to be commenting, who's next? Because we put up our interview with Sebastian Stan today, Joyce. So they might be fans, might be wondering. In fact,
that's actually they're stalking Sebastian Stan.
Well, not Sebastian Stan. Maybe another interview. Maybe we're setting things up. Listen, making deals.
Seb can come back anytime he wants. Okay, so.
Joyce, this is our 13th mailbag episode. I know we don't like the numbers, but I got to say, I got some feedback. People like the numbers. So I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but it is the 13th. Lucky number 13.
You should just fold it in more naturally.
I thought that's what I was doing right there. That wasn't as natural. Okay. Well, you win some, lose some. You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll read. These are real emails from real listeners. And Joyce, we had one come in right away, not to be too self-congratulatory, excuse me, but it's about Sebastian Stan. Came in this morning.
So they listened this morning right away and wrote it?
Yeah. Wow. Couldn't wait. This one's from Kara. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I hope you haven't recorded your mailbag episode yet. Kara, we didn't.
We haven't.
Because I just listened to your conversation with Sebastian Stan, and I wanted to say that I thought it was great. Thank you so much for referencing kings and political animals and calling people out for ignoring them and always focusing on Gossip Girl when talking about his TV work. Sorry, Chris. I know you love Gossip Girl. And I'm so glad you followed up about Chris Evans not responding to him about Speed the Plow. You're doing important work. I hope you get to talk to him again at some point because I would really love to hear a conversation all about Kings. That's from Kara, the world's number one Kings fan.
Thank you, Kara. I had to obviously mention kings and political animals.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then obviously inquire about Evans ignoring him about doing Speed the Plow. Very important. So I was so curious because he mentioned that in Happy, Sad, Confused 2 months ago. So I have to follow up.
You've been on the Sebastian Stan beat for a long time, Joyce.
Since the Covenant. So
I love talking to him. I thought it was great. I also love this week. I mean, we've seen a lot of the actors roundtable interviews and stuff, and he was
on both LA Times and Hollywood Reporter.
And he seems to be having just an absolute blast. I love seeing him in with these other actors too. I think it's great.
He's obviously we talked to him, but he's so serious about his work and genuine and earnest. And it's funny seeing the different personalities on the roundtables too. Obviously some people are more gregarious and outgoing than others. The funniest was the LA Times one because everyone was talking about what they do to relax and stuff. And Adrian Brody was like, "Oh, I paint." And Peter Sarsgaard is like, "Oh, I listen to podcasts while I do the dishes and stuff." And Coleman's like, "Oh, I like to cook." And Sebastian's just like, "I can't relax. I have to run." And Kieran's like, "I love not working. Is it just me?"
That was great. Doesn't he say he drinks too? Was that in that one?
That was his punchline. His first answer at the meeting. Yeah, right. It was alcohol. Yeah.
Peter Sarsgaard, if you're listening, come on the pod. We'd love to have you if you love podcasts. Joyce, this one's from David L. Back again. Little miffed because I didn't read his email last week.
Wow.
Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's David L. chiming back in again. Since you ignored my email last week, I'm going to start shortening my questions. That's a great way to get on the show, David, because
his emails are long. He's figured it out? Wow.
Let's just say I did a little helping. Why the hell are so many critics groups nominating The Substance in Best Picture, Writing, and Directing over the best movie about women this year, His Three Daughters? I thought The Substance was fine, but did it really need nominations for writing and directing and supporting actress? And what's so original about the story? Curly Fraja basically stole themes from The Fly, Nutty Professor, and the print picture of Dorian Gray. It's fine, but that performance from Margot Qualley was a performance that she could do in her sleep. The film is fine, but it only has a 78 on Metacritic and is nowhere near the level of anything Jordan Peele has ever done. Are the critics swooning for it just because it makes them feel smart about women loving themselves? I still don't buy it's getting into the Oscars because of the gross out body horror, which I'm still traumatized by.
Well, his question is about why it's doing better than His Three Daughters.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I think His Three Daughters came out pretty early in September. And it's obviously not Netflix's priority either. Their priority is Emilia Perez. As usual, they have a lot of films.
Yes.
And I think it was always going to be just an acting play for them, for His Three Daughters.
I think that the one thing I've noticed with critics' groups, Joyce, and I think you would agree, is while it might be nice to live in this world that David L. is suggesting, where they actually champion the smaller things that they like, that we know they like, because everybody was so excited about His Three Daughters at TIFF, and then even earlier this year. In the end, they just want to kind of like keep the momentum going and be with the herd, right? So like The Substance is like the cool movie, and I think that helps being embraced. They also think they actually like it. I know, I'm sure, again, The Substance fans cracking their knuckles here to be like, they called it the cool movie again.
Are they going to come for David L. now, since he called it just fine?
I have to say, Joyce, again, you don't read the comments, but David L. is always in those comments, knocking back.
He is, yeah.
The one thing I would push back on here, I don't think you could say when somebody references themes from other movies that they're stealing those themes. No. I would say they just are using inspired. Those other movies to interrogate what they want to talk about. I also saw obviously a lot of Kubrick in the movie, right? Like, even if Denzel Washington is not excited about that.
Opening last year. I mean,
it's not stealing.
It's not stealing. It's just being inspired. And it's funny how like when men do it, it's like, oh, like look at these references, right? Yeah. Like he's obviously a fan of this filmmaker. And like, I'm not calling out David L. here. I'm just saying in general, this is like the vibe. But when women do it, it's like they're stealing from someone. So that's just,
I noticed that too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think like, but critics groups a lot. It's kind of, especially when, there's so many regionals and you see like who's winning what. I think it's, very easy to just go with the herd, the mom mentality, especially if it's already someone you like, and you feel like you want to endorse them. I think the most interesting category actually this year is supporting actress, because you could see like almost like complete apathy towards like any of the contenders. Like there's so many different winners. There's like 10 different winners in supporting actress among the critics awards. So, and Natasha Lyonne has won a couple.
Yes. We're recording this on Thursday, Joyce, and I think the London Film Critics just came out with their nominations, and Margaret Qualley made that cut. But not Felicity Jones, I believe. So again.
Or Ariana Grande.
Or Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
So. Interesting. Daniel Deadweiler showing up there. And The Substance did really well with that group.
Isabella Rossellini, too, for her 8 minutes and 16 seconds.
Yes. So Substance did really well there after having, like we talked about earlier this week, maybe I don't think I wouldn't raise it to the level of took an L, but I do think it could have done better at the short list. But that was obviously like a slight knockback for the film.
I think it just held steady, but I understand if you are a huge Substance fan, you think this was a huge hit, but I think you should just set your expectations a little bit lower so you won't get disappointed.
This one's from Gina Joyce, I think, who's emailed us before and is always a lovely emailer. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's been a while, but I hope you're both doing well. I want to talk about Sing Sing and all of the claims of the film potentially missing Best Picture in response to what happened last week with the Golden Globes. To that, I heavily disagree. I feel like what happened at the Globes was a fluke. Most of the nomination ballots went in for a complete unknown before the embargo lifted on the 10th. And people were generally banking on that to manifest at the Oscars because of Timothée Chalamet, which could still happen without a corresponding Best Picture nomination. A complete unknown also hasn't had the most consistent showing in terms of director and screenplay nominations compared to Sing Sing, which has gotten in for adapted screenplay with many critic circles, and at the time of sending this email is currently tied with Nickel Boys in terms of overall wins. The last Best Picture nominee that got in with just acting nominations, from what I remember, was The Blind Side in 2010, and even that was a pretty weird year in and of itself. The only way I see this film getting in is if both of the musicals missed adapted screenplay, which would mean Wicked would be out since Emilia Perez is in for director, but Wicked has gotten too big to ignore. Anyway, I know we're all feeling annoyed by how A24 has handled the rollouts and campaigns for their films, but at the end of the day, the narrative surrounding Sing Sing, combined with its universal acclaim and the goodwill for Colma Domingo, is keeping it alive. And if the resurgence of the film actually works, then don't count out its potential SAG performance and maybe even some wins for adapted screenplay as well. Let me know your thoughts and have a lovely day. That's from Gina.
We kind of talked about this last week, right? At some point about how like a complete unknown could get into Best Picture without directing and adapted screenplay if you're predicting it to get into Best Picture. It's like is like we know Sing Sing is pretty safe for a screenplay nomination. Obviously, no one is predicting it for director either. But it has one of those, and it feels like a clear known is not gonna hit either director or writing as of right now.
I still think, like, I don't think it's between it. For me, it's not. I have both Sing Sing, I think, and A Complete Unknown getting in for Best Picture. I don't think it's between those two. I think there's room for both to get in, I would say. So.
I mean, like, Sing Sing at London critics today, it missed Clarence Macklin again.
I'm concerned about Clarence Macklin, Joyce. I think that is where he might fall out.
They did Denzel.
Right. Obviously, Coleman, I think, is safe.
Yeah, Denzel Coleman got in.
And I think the screenplay is safe. And then I think picture is not safe, but, like, obviously there for it to happen. And Clarence feels like he's been penciled in. And now that Edward Norton maybe is getting momentum, like we talked about, or Jeremy Strong, who I think got in at the London Film Critics too.
Yeah.
Those guys are bigger names, and maybe Clarence kind of falls by the wayside. He obviously probably would never get in at BAFTA, right? I just was like, that's not happening. So then he really just needs SAG to get into there. And, like, that would be, like, other than Critics' Choice, is that his only other, like, kind of televised thing, right? Because he missed the Golden Globes too. So I don't know.
Yeah. And he obviously won Gotham, voted on by 40 people.
Right.
And he's won a couple critics prizes. But yeah, I think, like, between, like, the Globes and then, like, London critics today, it's like we're all, you could kind of see, like, Sing Sing will probably underperform at BAFTA too.
Yes.
And then get 3 nominations at SAG. So then it's like, it's kind of like,
or does it? Like, what if Clarence misses at SAG?
I think, like, it should get those 3. I mean, like, if he misses at SAG, like, then
it's over.
Trouble. Like, SAG should be the easiest get for that movie.
Well, I know it's going to get Ensemble and Coleman, but anyway, this one's from Gabriel Joyce, a longtime emailer. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I watched Black Doves and Heretic back to back.
Slow Doves.
And I found an unexpected connection. Sarah Lancashire's character insists on being called Mrs. Reed, even though we never see her spouse. Hugh Grant's character, Mr. Reed, claims to have a wife, whom we also never see. You do the math. Speaking of Heretic, Hugh Grant deserves that elusive 5th slot in Best Actor, even though I know it's not going to happen. I currently have The Substance getting in for director, original screenplay, makeup, and hairstyling, but not picture. Am I anti-dicting it, or could you see this happening? Thanks for reading, Chris, and I can't believe you read an email about TV last week to mix things up, when you've been explicitly omitting any mention of TV I make in my letters.
Yeah, it's very rude.
I have to keep the edits moving. I keep the emails moving.
Yeah, but, like, you need to show some love to TV. I should just refuse to answer the film questions unless you do more TV.
I don't know. So. Substance getting in director, original screenplay, makeup, but not picture. I could see that, frankly, but I don't have that. So what do you think?
Yeah, but I think, like, there is still, like, passion for The Substance, so, like, it could get the number ones for picture, and it's so like open at the bottom there too. I do like what he's suggesting about Slow Doves and Heretic's connection there. So this means Hugh should guest star on season 2 of Slow Doves.
It feels like it would be a great move for his career too. Just be on Slow Doves. Slow Doves really fun. Mm-hmm. This one's from Sean Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. We're into it. Joyce, I section these out. This is just for us, but this is the real. I'm going to call this the real pain section because we had a bunch of emails about the real pain, and Kieran. So I put them all together. This one is Sean. Hi, Joyce and Chris. As I try to see all of the likely Oscar fare of 2024, I have to say I have been underwhelmed by many of the recent performances I have checked out. At the top of the list is Kieran Culkin's performance in A Real Pain. I just don't see what others are raving about in this performance. Kieran's work in Succession is so much better than in A Real Pain. Frankly, Jesse Eisenberg was much more effective in the film. I am so confused that his performance is set to steamroll through the awards season. Is it a lack of strong competition? That's from Sean. Now, I want to read the second one because I think it's a great...
How many are there? Are there just 2?
There's 2 about Kieran specifically, and then one a little, like, so I'm going to read these 2 back to back. This one was from Monica Joyce. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the pod. I wanted to write in because after listening to your mailbag episode last week, I feel like Kieran Culkin is kind of misunderstood by some because he refuses to conform to what Hollywood or the public thinks he should be. Maybe it's because he's been acting since he was a young child, but it's refreshing to see someone who is just themselves and isn't worrying about how they're being perceived all the time. He's a human being. He has thoughts and opinions. He brings a lot of himself to his roles, and Benji is not just Roman Roy, for the record, and that works very well for him. He also seems to be one of the few people who understands that while awards are nice, this isn't what really matters in the end. I hope everyone has a chance to watch his excellent Actors on Actors with Coleman Domingo. It's one of the best they've ever produced.
It's true.
And I think it's because Kieran is a curious person and isn't afraid to jump in and offer his thoughts on a topic, even if they go against the grain. And Coleman matched that energy so well. For anyone who doesn't, quote, get Kieran, maybe it's not a problem with him. That's from Monica.
Wow. So this is like shot at Sean and Warren from last week.
Yes. Monica, Sean and Warren are definitely in the anti-Kieran club. And Monica here to defend his honor, which I know you would do as well.
Yes.
So I thought those are two great emails. I guess in terms of Kieran, I don't even think I think we're a little like you're hotter on the movie than me and probably the performance than me, but I'm like, it's a good performance. Like I don't think it's a bad performance.
Yeah. Like I said last week, like he's better as Roman than as Benji.
Right.
Yeah.
But like Succession is great. It would be like the best if it was, if you're comparing, this is like much better. I do think he's great. I love the Actors on Actors with Coleman, and I just love him in all these things. He's bringing great energy to the campaign.
He's always been like this. He's pure chaos. And that Actors on Actors is, I would just say right now, the best they've ever done ever.
Wow. You're agreeing with Monica.
Better, yeah. Like even better than when Josh Brolin had to interview himself because Jeremy Renner got snowed in Tahoe.
I don't remember that one.
This is what Actors on Actors should be. Is just like they're. I mean, both of them just have charisma, like off the charts, right? And then they're also both curious people. They have different energies because like Coleman is more chill, and Kieran is obviously chaotic. But they like you watched it, like they have different opinions on things, like horoscopes, first of all. But they listen to each other and they're curious and it's like a real conversation. And I one of the actors this season, like they try to make Glick It happen, and they did Ariana Grande and Paul Mescal. Fine, totally fine conversation. But it's like that felt so forced, right? But when you just pair two people who just are completely interested in the other person and they're more focused on that and instead of like campaigning and just talking about the movies, like it took like 10 minutes before they even talked about their work. I don't envy obviously anyone at Variety having to schedule these, and like we've talked about, it's much more complicated I think than people think. But I do wonder when you're doing these kind of things, when you have like, I agree, like they're both great and they're both like, you could see this on the round table too. They're both like Kieran and Coleman are like super gregarious, and they're like able to like kind of bring a room together in a way. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering like, I wonder if there was a discussion like, should we actually split them up? Because like, do we want to bring it? Does it help having each of their energies in different interviews? Then you have like two different instead of just the one. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But I don't know if that was even possible. I mean, I think even if you pair them with anybody else, like they would improve whatever that Actors on Actors like tenfold. But like them together, unstoppable. And obviously they need to do a movie together now. So
I feel like it's like obviously going to happen too. Like I was just like, oh, they'll definitely do a movie together.
Yes.
I feel like, so like Kieran, I do think in terms of the competition, like that question from Sean, who was negging Kieran. I mean, I do think obviously the competition plays into it greatly because like a different year, even this great performance, and he probably would still be nominated, he wouldn't necessarily win. You know what I mean? But like this year with this competition, like I think he is like, do you think that like if it was like last year with the Oppenheimer and Robert Downey Jr., I don't think he would have won. Maybe.
No.
But
I mean, like, Oppie is also a stronger movie,
right?
You know,
and like Hugh Kwan, right, 2 years ago or whatever, like he would not have beaten him. But like this year, with a strong, really competitor, like he's going to steamroll.
Like
people love him.
It's a good performance, and I think the film is also very accessible. Like you don't have to like the film or the movie,
right?
But I think it's like very easy to understand what's happening around him. Like it is the oldest movie in the mix because it premiered at Sundance, so he's already been on the radar for 11 months, right? Because people were like, oh my god, he could win an Oscar in 14 months in January.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 10 days after he won the Emmy,
right?
So it's and then it's just like there's so much more to it than just the performance. Like it's totally fine if you don't like the performance. We don't have to like the performance or every performance. We can like different things.
Right.
But there's so much more that goes into this than just a performance.
So in terms of what you're saying there about real pain, Joyce, this was the other one about this movie. This one's from Matthew. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I'm a longtime listener and first-time emailer. I have a scenario I want to run by you both regarding A Real Pain. While I may be biased, it is my favorite film of the year. Is it outside the realm of possibility for A Real Pain to have a Coda-style come-from-behind win for Best Picture? For one, there is no established Best Picture frontrunner. And two, A Real Pain has a genuine chance at achieving the other 2 Oscar wins that Coda did in supporting actor and screenplay, original instead of adapted. Not to mention that assuming Kieran Culkin wins a lot of the precursors, the film will get plenty of screen time for voters, with a very personable actor giving that speech, very similar to how Troy Kotsur was the heart and soul of Coda's award campaign. Just food for thought. Am I trying to find a scenario that doesn't exist? It seems with a short runtime of 90 minutes, it would tie Marty as the shortest Best Picture winner in history if this were to happen. Could this be a testament to shortened attention spans with so many 2.5 hour and 3.5 hour films getting nominated each year? That's from Matthew.
I don't know if I would go as far right now on December 19th to say Best Picture winner, A Real Pain. I mean, that would be great. But I think it's also different competition this year for A Real Pain versus with Coda that year. Because they, like Power of the Dog was just the movie that it was the front runner, but it was like more respected than loved, and then just ran out of steam. And then people were looking for a feel good alternative. And I feel like there are more different options like that this year for A Real Pain to have to topple. And I do think it is kind of being underestimated in a way, because I think it's so low concept, right? But I think that actually works to his advantage, because a lot of these other movies are medium or high concept, or you just have to remember rules that they set in their film, like the substance, right? You have to understand what everything means, or you have to follow mythology, like in Dune, right? You have to know the lore. And
a lot
even
of lore.
Yeah, even Wicked, if you're familiar with the musical. But A Real Pain is just 2 cousins visiting Poland after their grandmother died. I think everyone can follow that. And the runtime thing, I think, is also important, especially now we're coming up on the holidays and voters are catching up on screeners at home, usually with their families. And I think people would check the runtimes and vote for the shortest movie. And that is A Real Pain.
We spoke to someone, Joyce, who said that very thing about the screener, right? That was the one that people picked, I believe.
Because it's the shortest one,
I was talking to somebody again, someone who's a producer recently, and he was saying he did not like the movie at all. But then I had talked to other people who love it. And again, the running time is a great advantage, because I think you're right. When you're looking for screeners, especially around the holiday, you want to start with one that you're not going to have the most commitment to, right? It's easier to watch this. You could watch this twice and still not finish The Brutalist.
Yes.
So, no disrespect to The Brutalist or this film, but I'm just saying, that's an interesting.
No,
interesting
and then
angle.
especially it's over Christmas. It's you bring over your screeners and it's hey, let's all vote, And I think there's more common ground with A Real Pain. I think some people would be oh, I'm not going to watch The Brutalist because it's way too long. I'm not interested, and it sounds boring or something.
The only problem with for the Coda comp to me too, you're saying, totally different year. Coda is more outwardly, nakedly emotional than A Real Pain. Though I think people.
Yes.
I think I also was wondering this. I think millennials have been really more into it than any other group. That from my personal life, at least, that's who's been really responding to the movie. And so I wonder if that's because Jesse is a millennial too. So I'm maybe younger voters would be into this more. And I guess that maybe skews your perception of the movie, I guess, too.
Yeah, I do agree that it's not obviously feel good emotional like Coda is. It is an emotional movie, but it's more prickly. Yes.
Yeah. This one's from Evan Joyce, who has emailed us before, and you'll see that in the intro here. He emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris, it's Evan here. I'm so happy you guys enjoyed my joke a few weeks back about how Amelia Perez was if Baz Luhrmann and Pedro Almodovar were forced to make a movie together.
The best
I was hoping you'd laugh. Evan, I gotta say, I'm just gonna pause here. Joyce, I've made that comp to so many people in the week since.
And everyone's oh, that's perfect.
It's so good. It is so good. Anyway,
Evan, you're so famous.
Evan, congratulations on creating a meme. Anyway, here's back to Evan's email. Best actress this year is a bloodbath, but people need to stop doubting Angelina Jolie. She is not missing. Netflix got Ana de Armas in for Blonde and Annette Bening in for Nyad, and those are competitive fields also. I think if they can do it for them, they can easily do it for Angelina. But I do wonder if Mikey Madison could end up winning the Oscar in the way that Emma Stone won for her first Oscar for La La Land. Both actresses are leading ladies of their movies that are frontrunners to win Best Picture, and there seems to be no general consensus number 2 choice. Obviously, Emma was already an established star with previous nomination behind her, but I just think this comp is interesting. We'll have to wait till the televised awards, but I'm hoping for different winners at each ceremony to make it fun. And coincidentally, Emma was up against a Pablo Larraín leading lady as well. But who knows? Maybe the winner ends up being Carla, Demi, Marianne, or Angie, and we can't forget to hold space for Cynthia Erivo. Anyway, sorry for the long rant. That's from Evan.
I don't know what to do with Angie because it's yeah, like he said, like it's so wrong to count out like a basic biopic role is from Netflix.
Yes.
But she's also in a Pablo Larraín film that is not hitting the same way as Natalie's performance in Jackie or Kristen Stewart's performance in Spencer did. Like there's like a lack of passion behind the performance like there was, or just the film in general, like there was for those 2 performances in those 2 movies. So, because I do think, like we've talked about, it's his most accessible film, but maybe that also hurts it in a way because it's like a little bit alienating to like the Lorraine heads. So yes. I don't know what to do because like Angie's also not like she hasn't won any of these critics awards either, and Natalie and obviously Kristen won a whole bunch, Kristen especially.
I don't know what to do. I put her back. I feel like I was an early adopter on what if she misses, right? I kind of feel
you dropped her and then put her back in and dropped her.
I've got her in. I got her in now. And I guess the reason to drop her is like you're saying, I think it on paper, it's like, oh, the Pablo Larraín movies, they get in and she'll get in. But I agree with you. There's not a lot of passion for this movie, right? Or, I don't believe this performance. No disrespect to the performance, there's not as much passion as there was for like Kristen Stewart. People were like really upset if she was going to miss, right? Like, and this is not that bad. In terms of like the other Netflix movies, so Ana de Armas got in for Blonde, a completely toxic movie that many people hated, but obviously had more international support, I think, and like that felt right. And Annette Bening, like we talked about last year, she really felt like the apple in a bag of oranges because it was like a different performance, an older actress, like it just felt right. And it was
a completely different demo that she covered.
A totally different demo. So Angie's not that demo, right? Because she's still young. And like, I don't know. I was just like, oh, I could see her making it in then just because it's like the basic biopic, but I'm not even sure about that. But I still have her in. All this being said, I put her in because I was just like, regardless of all those other comps, this is the kind of performance and a movie and actress that would get in for this performance. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they like this kind of stuff. And so I do think I'm holding space for her now as a nominee, and I think she'll get in. And Netflix has done a great job mobilizing their actress nominations. So I feel like that is going to also help. Then I'm like, so I still have Mikey. I don't know if she'll win. And I also think it's weird, even when we talk about this, like, I guess Anora is the front runner because it is the front runner, but do you actually believe that it's the front runner? That's the other thing I've been thinking. Not really, right?
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we've just been talking about this for months, and it's also just kind of reinforcing it because it keeps winning these critics awards, and she keeps winning critics awards too. So
now she could definitely win. I guess I would say this, like, I wonder, this is a tangent, but I was like, are we discounting the idea that Amelia Perez is actually the front runner because like no one online likes the movie, and like the industry has shown over and over again that they actually love this movie, and so maybe it should just be the front runner is Amelia Perez. That doesn't mean that Mikey won't win, but I'm like, are we just trying too hard to make Anora the front runner in the face of obvious proof that Amelia Perez has been widely embraced by the industry?
I don't think anyone is, or like I don't think there's like an effort to make Anora the frontrunner. Is trying to find a frontrunner, and Anora is more of a default frontrunner. And now it's obviously won more stuff than Amelia has. I think Amelia will get a lot of nominations, but I think because it's also like singular branch voting for the nominations, and also Netflix is really great at getting the nominations. It's the wins they have trouble with. So I think with the wins, it might be more difficult because it's the whole body voting for the winners, and that's when you have more consensus type of winners. Yeah, so I think there's still going to be division because it's still a polarizing movie. So even though like most of the industry seemingly, or the loudest part of the industry seemingly likes it. The famous people like it.
Yeah.
There could be people in the industry who hate it, you know?
Yeah, we'll have to wait for those anonymous ballots. For Best Actress right now, I have Mikey, Carla, Angie, Demi Moore, and Cynthia Erivo. And that's the top 5 in our odds currently somehow, which I don't like. That I have now
that has
been
my SAG 5 for months, and I don't know if I want to have that as my Oscar 5. So
I guess if I was going to move, I would probably drop Demi and I would put Marianne in or Nicole, and depending on BAFTA, I guess. I feel like Marianne needs to get BAFTA for me to like put her in, obviously, for the Oscars. And then that would leave like we said, obviously a couple of major snubs in this category.
There's going to be a huge snubs no matter what. So
I mean, Demi feels like the most obvious snub to me. Also, very obviously could get in because I guess we'll see. I don't know, but I'm like, it would not be surprised if she missed.
The only person who feels safe is Mikey. Like anyone else, if you told me they missed, I'd be like, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, even Carla. We've talked about that. I think that's fair too. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Just we have time for a couple more, and then we're gonna wrap up and then record another mailbag episode. But exciting. This one's from Tyler, and I love this. We got this from a bunch of people. I think Juan Carlos also emailed this. I just picked Tyler's, but there are many of these. It's our favorite time of year, Joyce. It's the end of the year, where we make lists. And I know you love lists. If I know anything about Joyce, it's that she loves making lists.
For anyone listening, I'm just shaking my head. So.
And I hope you can sense the tone of sarcasm in my voice. Anyway, this is from Tyler. Since it's December and everyone is looking back at 2024, I wanted to ask about your 10 favorite movies and shows of the year and follow up. What is a movie or TV show that people love that you just didn't get?
Are you going to pull up your letterbox right now?
I'm opening it right now. I'm holding up my phone. I'm opening up my letterbox right now. It's a living list, so it changes very rapidly and often.
But we know Nora is number 1.
So as you know, Joyce, as we talked about, when I change my picks often, and you could bet I change the rankings of my favorite movies often as well. I'll do from 10 up. This is what I have right now. Wicked in number 10, though I also could have put Rebel Ridge or Civil War there. Both movies I really loved. I have Robert Zemeckis' Here, We Are Legion, The Here Hive, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Saturday Night, and Hitman, my trio of white guy movies that I loved. Then Dune, Furiosa, Challengers, and Anora. I don't think this is a very good year. That was my big takeaway. I was just like, these are none, like, outside of the only, on Letterboxd, Joyce, you can follow me. You can't because you're not going to do this, but if you're listening, you can follow me on Letterboxd. I only gave 3 movies 5 stars. Anora, Challengers, and Furiosa. Everything else is like 4. I don't think there were a lot of great movies.
What's your average a year? How many 5 did you get?
Well, like let's look at I'm going to look at last year. Last year, my list of favorite movies in 5 stars, I had. Well, last year I had more 4 stars last year, I guess. I had Barbie and Oppenheimer 5 stars. Anyway, not a lot of 5 stars this year. What are you going to do?
I don't. No, I don't even remember what I like this year. I like The Brutalist. A Real Pain.
You like A Real Pain? Yeah, I was going to say you loved Real Pain.
September 5. Hard Truths.
Okay.
What is that, 4? I'm just listing movies here. Challengers I liked, even though I have like issues with their errors, unforced errors. Juror number 2.
Nice.
Fantastic film.
We didn't even talk about this. I knew you watched it and we never followed up. I'm so excited to hear this.
Great film.
Isn't it great? It was really good, right?
Just like pitch perfect. Like all the performances.
Everyone's great. I haven't liked J.K. Simmons so much in a long time. I thought he was so good. Tony Collette is amazing.
Like his flower truck killed me.
It was great. What was the name? What was the pun?
It was like on a bed of rose, or what was it? I think I took a screenshot of it and sent it to someone.
Oh my god, I loved it so much.
So good.
That was that would also be in my. That would be in my like. That was the thing this year. I had a lot of movies where I was like, "Is this a 4-star movie?"
Life Rose On.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like Juror number 2 was my top 20. I had Juror number 2. I had Trap. Did you see the movie Trap, Joyce? Great movie.
Yes.
The Apprentice we talked about with Sebastian Stan, but I really like that movie.
Oh yeah, I like The Apprentice and A Different Man too, both of them. So
I like The Apprentice.
Yes, we discussed this last week.
Blink Twice, I thought was actually really good. Zoe Kravitz's movie that people unfairly maligned. My taste this year felt like all the movies that, and that's a great, we could go to TV after this, but just for the follow-up question of what movies that people love that you didn't get, most of the movies this year that people loved, I did not like or did not get. So like Nickel Boys, A Room Next Door, Blitz, which I guess people didn't really love Blitz, but I don't know. There were a lot of movies this year where I was like, that is not for me, unfortunately. But Blink Twice, which everyone just shit all over, and Here, which everyone hated, and even Juror Number 2, which a lot of people didn't like. I was like, these are great. So I was like weighing on those instead of the ones people liked.
Yeah. Like I didn't hate any movie this year. I also like The Substance. Got to shout out The Substance for the stands.
Yeah, make sure get them on our side again.
That's one of the few movies I've seen multiple times this year. So
that's true.
I've seen it twice. And I don't watch a lot of movies more than once.
No.
Yeah, if I'm not into a movie, like I think it's totally serviceable. Like I usually don't watch it again.
Sure.
And like that, like, I know you do. Like you if you don't like something or you didn't get it, you try to watch it again. Like I'm just like. I know what you're doing here, and I don't need to revisit this. When
people I respect like the movie that I thought was bad, and then I go back, I'll be like, oh, I'll watch this again. Like that happened with Blitz, because I was just like, this is not very good, and then I just didn't love it, and then I was like, I gotta watch this again because a couple people are like, oh, it's so good, and I watched it again. I was like, I still don't get this. I don't know.
Yeah, like that's a movie that no shade to Steve McQueen or anyone in Apple.
Yeah,
like when I watched it, I was like, this is like totally fine.
Right, it's fine.
I'm probably never gonna watch it again. And you know what? I have no plans to right now to watch it again. So yeah.
And how about TV, Joyce?
Well, favorite obviously is Hacks.
Sure.
What else did I like this year?
I wish there was a way. I wish I would have kept a list for TV. But
it's because you hate TV. So
I mean, I don't care. But I did have Hacks, I would say, for sure. Industry, those are my two faves. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I would say, also great. Those are my three faves.
I would do Hacks, English Teacher, Slow Horses.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I really... It's so hard without Succession.
I know. Oh, I like Shrinking a lot. I thought the second season was really good.
I mean, I gotta shout out, like, Slow Doves.
I was gonna say, you gotta bring Black Doves in here.
Day of the Jackal, too. Just very similar kind of unserious shows. Very much enjoyed. I like Only Murders this season. I don't know if it's, like... Again, I don't rank. I don't know if it's, like, better than any of, like, the previous 4 seasons, but I enjoyed the season.
I guess the one thing that surprised me about the reaction to Only Murders is because we both watched the screeners like way in advance. They never sent the finale until later, but we were watching it over the summer, I guess. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I really liked it. And I was really surprised that the public response to it seemed to be like, it's mid to bad. As I was like, I thought it was really good, but what are you going to do?
It was like, it felt like people took issue with like their guest stars. Because they have so many.
I could see that if you haven't watched it and you're like, oh, all these guest stars, this is stupid, right? But when you actually watch the show, they're all used so well. Like I was like, they make like Zach Galifianakis is so funny. Eugene Levy I thought was great. Like they're all actually used to a purpose, so it actually makes it feel right, even though it is obviously so reliant on so many big names. But
well, what TV show did you not get?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. A lot of times, one I just watched that I could not get into is The Man on the Inside. I guess that's just recency bias, but I was just like, not for me.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. No Good Deed too. I totally forgot because I watched those screeners so long ago. I totally forgot about those.
Did you like No Good Deed also? Yeah, I haven't watched. I watched the first one of those.
It's very Dead to Me coded. So if you like Dead to Me, then you'll probably like No Good Deed. So
and last one, Joyce, we're going to end on a high because Bianca's back with a This or That.
Great.
She actually sent another one ahead, which we'll read next week.
But this one, she planned ahead.
She planned ahead. This one is tough, and we're going to get yelled at. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This might start a Stan war, but it's made award season very enjoyable for me as an outsider to their fandoms. This or That, Selena Gomez or Ariana Grande.
Just in general, or their performances and their respective
There's
films?
No context. How do you want to do it?
So like I am totally impartial to both of them.
Okay.
Like I respect both of them greatly.
Yes.
I'm very, I wouldn't say I'm very familiar with, I'm very aware of their work.
Yes.
But their work is not necessarily for me.
Okay.
I'm obviously older.
You're treading really carefully here. I like this. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I didn't like watch like Victorious or like Wizards, you know, but like obviously I knew what they were and they were on it, and I've never listened to any of their full albums. Like I've heard some of their songs on the radio, you know. I've definitely heard more of Ariana's songs than Selena's because she's had greater output than Selena.
Okay.
And like, you know, but they're not my pop girls. You know, my pop girls are, you know, Britney and Christina, you know, like Mandy Moore, Jessica Simpson, you know, the TRL days. So yeah, like I have like no opinion of like their music.
You're not even gonna pick?
Well, I would say like between their films this year, between their performances, I would say Ariana over Selena. But like in general, like I have no preference.
So in general, like, no preference. Movies this year, Ariana over Selena. I would say in movies this year, well, I think I'm more pro on Amelia Perez probably than you are, but I don't think either one of us dislike the movie at all.
I think Selena's good in it.
I do think Ariana has obviously the better performance, also because of the size of the role and all these different things. But I don't think Selena is like a washout in Amelia Perez. I think she's quite good. And like we've discussed, kind of the heart and soul of the movie.
And she's catching so many strays for her accent. And
which is, again, I think,
like canon in the film that she's American, not a native Spanish speaker.
Correct. All that. I do like her. I do prefer her on Only Murders to this movie, but I did think it was nice to see her do something different.
Yes, I do. I prefer, she's way better on Only Murders.
And I think Ariana Grande in real life, from interviews I read, she seems really cool and like very fun. And I love her. Like, I think she's a great comic. Honestly, she's very funny, much funnier than Selena. I think. No disrespect to Selena. I do think if we're doing the aggregate or their public personas, I actually like Selena. I would pick Selena because I just think she's really, anytime I see interviews or read interviews with her, I think she's like super thoughtful and she's like got really good, like good things to say. Woman. Yeah. I like all of that about her. I think she's like great. I'm not saying Ariana Grande is not like that, but I guess if you were asking me to pick, I guess I would say Selena from like the overall aggregate, but maybe Ariana Grande this year. And I think they both could get nominated for Oscars, really, especially if the industry goes crazy for Amelia Perez.
I guess like with Selena, she's like expanded more, like she has Rare Beauty, you know, and I watched her doc a couple years ago, which was very illuminating.
Yeah, the doc was good.
Yeah. So yeah, I like them both.
Yeah. Bianca, don't get us in trouble.
I know. I would also say like Selena's better at dry humor and Ariana's better at physical humor.
Yes. She's great on Only Murders. She's so good on Only Murders. All right, Joyce, we're going to wrap it up there. Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com with any questions you have.
And you have to pick Selena or Ari,
too. Pick Selena or Ariana Grande. That's great. And we'll be back next week with more of your emails.
The last one of 2024.
The last one of 2024. We're going to celebrate the new year with your emails. All right. Talk to you then. Bye. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet. The show is produced by Aaron Greenwald. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sikora. To be part of the show, email us at slugfests@goldderby.com and follow us on social media @goldderby.